Story 1. My 29F parents ghosted me 5 years ago after my wedding and have now reached out. What do I do? I'm married to my former boss. My parents did not take the marriage as well as I'd hoped and ignored me for 5 years, only to reach out when they saw a 5th anniversary Facebook post that mentioned our kids. Do I let them back in or do I ignore them? My husband, 30M, used to be my boss. About 9 years ago, I started working as his assistant. We spent about 2.5 years ignoring our mutual attraction until we gave in. We then went to HR, who reassigned me, and the whole thing was strictly above board from the time we began dating. I got pregnant about a year later, and my husband and I decided to get married. While we'd only really been dating for about 1.5 years, we knew each other completely, loved each other, lived together, and there was a baby on the way. We knew how it would look, but I had to leave the company anyway due to problems with my new boss, so we didn't anticipate this causing any issues, except with my parents. They, 62M57F, have always been overprotective, so I knew they wouldn't like me dating my boss and not told them. But I had to tell them if I wanted them at my wedding. We decided to be mostly honest with them that it was strictly professional until it wasn't. That the second it became unprofessional, we went to HR, that he had never taken advantage of me, and that we now wanted to get married and wanted them there. We did not mention the baby because I felt that giving them that information, in addition to everything else all at once, would just break them. I was only about 4 months along when the wedding happened, so the bump was easily hidden by a flowy dress. The wedding itself went off without a hitch, apart from my mother pulling me into the bathroom shortly before the ceremony to ask if I was sure about this, which I said I was. My parents seemed to take it well. The ceremony and reception were at 2 different venues, and we had to travel from one to the other. My parents never arrived at the reception. I called them and got ignored, and then my brother called them. They told him they were going home. I don't remember the exact reason they gave, but it amounted to them being tired and uncomfortable. I tried contacting them after the wedding, but found that I was blocked on everything except email, which I used to send them a long letter, essentially, saying that I'm an adult who made an adult choice and I hope they can respect that. 5 years later, I have not heard from my parents since my wedding. My husband and I are not big on social media, but I recently posted something for our 5th anniversary in which I mentioned our 2 kids and a third on the way. Within a month of making this post, my parents left a voicemail saying they saw it and, having had no idea they had grandchildren previously, now want to meet them. I haven't responded, and there have been a few follow-ups since then asking why I haven't. I don't know what to do, but my gut instinct is that 5 years is too long and that this is about the kids, not about respecting my choices or my relationship. However, I can't help but feel that I'm being unfair, and my brother agrees because I told them in my email that if they could learn to respect my choice and my marriage eventually, then we could talk. Now I'm retroactively applying a time limit. Edit. I can't find a way to work this in organically, but my husband is not white. I am, as are my parents. I don't think this is a race thing or that my parents are racist, and neither does my husband, and we don't understand why they would want to meet our mixed-race children if they were racist, but this element is still gnawing at me. I asked to talk yesterday. We were on Zoom within an hour. It was my parents, me, and my husband. They asked to see the kids, and I said they could see them eventually, dependent on them earning our trust and convincing us they were going to be positive additions to the kids' lives. They asked to start by reading me a letter they claimed to have written on my wedding day. It said they were uncomfortable with me marrying my former boss because they thought he had taken advantage of me. So they left between the wedding and reception to avoid a scene. They wanted me to know they were here for me despite their issues with him. They added that they would have sent this to me the morning after my wedding, but then I sent my email about them needing to respect my choices, and they were so ashamed they couldn't bring themselves to send theirs. Seeing my anniversary post made them realize how much they'd missed in 5 years, and they really don't want to miss any more. I had some questions, like what the big deal was with me marrying my former boss, and they said it just wasn't what they had in mind for my wedding day or my future spouse. I asked why they even came to the wedding at all if they didn't support the marriage. And my dad responded that he wanted to walk his daughter down the aisle, as it was the only chance he'd get. The way it was phrased implied they had intentionally only come to the wedding so he could give me away, and had always planned to leave halfway, because he said my daughter and didn't talk to me directly. It was pretty clear he was thinking about my older sister, who passed away. My husband caught that too and said that if they were talking about me, they should address me directly. He then added that if they had planned to leave, they should have told us, as we wouldn't have invited them, and that the fact they waited 5 years to reach out was going to take more than shame to explain. As a father, he didn't understand how they could ignore their daughter for years, or only get back in touch when we had kids. My dad snapped that he wasn't going to take this from a slur, meaning dark-skinned. My mother immediately tried to do damage control, but I ended the call. They have since messaged me several times trying to explain that calling my husband a racial slur wasn't indicative of a racist attitude, and that he wouldn't have said it in front of the kids, so they should still get to meet them. I've spent 5 years wondering how they were so offended by me marrying my boss that it earned no contact for half a decade. Turns out they're just racist. It's almost nice to find out. If it was just the boss thing, I would have sympathy for them and we might even be able to reconcile. But with this, it's now just a question of whether I'm going to knowingly expose my mixed-race children to a couple of racists, which I am obviously not going to do.
Story 2. I keep meeting my birth mom, but she doesn't know it's me. She had me when she was 14. I, 24M, was given up for adoption. My parents told me about her growing up. I still have the letter she wrote me that she asked them to give me if they wanted. It's crazy reading it sometimes and knowing it was a literal child who wrote it, saying she's sorry she couldn't be my mommy, but she hopes I'm happy. She was open to having contact, but we moved for my dad's job when I was 11, and then it seemed impossible to find her. But luckily, I did. She's working at this small restaurant, and I keep going, but she doesn't know it's me. We talk sometimes, and she seems like a nice lady. Sometimes when she says something like, "Do you want a refill, honey?" or uses another term like that, I want to tell her. I don't know why it makes me nervous. We talk sometimes, and she seems really genuine. If it's not super busy, she's more open to talking about random stuff. I literally drive 2 hours to come eat at this place just to see her. And it's like she knows me already, because I've been there once or twice a week for the past 3 months, so she always says hi with a big smile. But man, if only she knew. Update. Well, I did it. I told her. And yeah, it was pretty heavy. My heart was beating so fast. I kept trying to think about how to tell her. Oh, really quick, I want to say thanks to everyone for their love and support. Mostly to all the birth parents out there who shared their stories with me. That's what really helped push me to have the courage to tell her. It meant so much, so thank you. This happened the day before yesterday. I waited for her to finish her shift. They were closing the restaurant, and I waited in the parking lot. We said hi when she saw me, but then I told her there was something serious she needed to know. I first apologized for keeping it from her this long. She didn't react until I pulled out her letter. Then she started bawling, like screaming and crying at the same time. I didn't even have to finish the whole "I'm your son" speech. She just saw it and knew. It was crazy. Next thing I know, she's hugging me instantly. But then she pulled back and asked if it was okay to hug me. Of course it was. And we're just there, hugging and crying in the parking lot. It hit her hard. Her legs gave out for a second, so I had to hold her up while she was still hugging me. What really got me was her saying, "Look how big you got." Hearing her cry made me cry too. She went back to open the restaurant up. She wouldn't take no for an answer. We had coffee, ate a slice of pie, and talked. We talked about so many things. She told me that the second time I came to the restaurant, she got a feeling. But for her, it was hard to believe it was really me, so she pushed that feeling way down. She said that for years after I was adopted, She would see kids who would be my age and think they were me. Then she'd end up crying in public. It messed with her mind a lot and made her depressed, so she didn't want to do that again when she saw me and get her hopes up. She said I looked so much like my biological dad when he was younger. We talked about him too. They stayed in contact in case I ever reached out to one of them, so it would be easier to contact the other. I didn't have much hope about finding my biological dad since he was never mentioned, so I'm glad they both planned for this future scenario. She told me they wanted to keep me, especially my biological dad. He didn't want me to be adopted, but they knew they had to because they were just kids. It took him a long time to get past it after I was born. That's why he didn't leave anything. He didn't want to believe he might never see me again. We talked for hours. Until almost 2 in the morning. They closed at 11. She just wanted to know everything about me. Her main question was, am I happy? Were my parents good to me? Did I have a happy childhood? And I did. I told her thank you for helping give me this life. We both cried again. She cried the most. Everything was very emotional for her. Sometimes she would look really happy, and then she'd get sad again. After my 18th birthday, she was hoping I would find her. That's why she stayed in the same city. But since I didn't, she always thought maybe I resented her, wasn't told I was adopted, or had decided it was better not to have her around. It made me feel bad for not telling her sooner. She told me it wasn't my fault, and that I did the right thing by going at my own pace. Honestly, she's so sweet. The way she kept looking at me with the biggest smile made me emotional. It makes you think, how can someone who's been a total stranger your whole life look at you with so much love? It's wild. We learned so much about each other. She asked if we could have dinner soon to keep talking. And maybe at some point in the future, if I'm interested, I could come over to her house and meet her husband. That all sounded really great. We exchanged numbers. After I left, she sent a text thanking me for giving her this gift, something she didn't know if it would ever come. My girlfriend came over, and she hugged me while I cried. I wasn't sad. These were happy tears. Everything went better than I expected. It was still emotionally heavy, but I'm so glad we got to open to each other.